Equatorial Guinea, a nation small in geographical footprint, holds a disproportionate share of both immense natural wealth and profound human suffering. Its history is etched in oil and blood, a stark testament to enduring exploitation. For its people, independence in 1968 did not usher in an era of true freedom or prosperity. Instead, it marked a transition from one form of subjugation to another, equally brutal. This narrative unveils the forgotten legacy of Spain's colonial empire and its persistent, often unseen, influence. It is a story of how historical patterns of control continue to shape a nation's destiny. The origins of modern Equatorial Guinea trace back to 1778, when Spain acquired Fernando now Bioko Island, from Portugal. This transfer was part of a broader colonial exchange, solidifying Spain's presence in the Gulf of Guinea. Spanish influence gradually expanded to the mainland territory of Rio Muni throughout the 19th century. This expansion was driven by strategic interests and the pursuit of resources. The newly acquired colony quickly became a hub for forced labor. It was exploited for slavery, the establishment of vast cocoa plantations, and the deployment of convict labor. To circumvent international abolition rules, Spain devised a system of leasing laborers. Workers were forcibly brought from Liberia and Nigeria, perpetuating a form of indentured servitude. Catholic missions played a central, often aggressive role in the colonial project. They relentlessly pushed for conversion, frequently employing violent methods to impose their doctrine. Spain's colonial strategy was succinctly defined by three pillars: Catholicism, cocoa, and control. This approach ensured economic extraction, cultural assimilation, and political subjugation. Under this system, the indigenous population was systematically disempowered. They were denied access to education, stripped of their land rights, and excluded from any meaningful political representation. In 1959, Equatorial Guinea was nominally declared a Spanish province, a move intended to integrate it more closely with the metropole. However, this designation offered little genuine autonomy or self-governance. Despite the provincial status, Spanish settlers retained overwhelming dominance over the administration and economy. Their interests consistently superseded those of the local population. Pressure from the United Nations, advocating for decolonization, eventually compelled Spain to grant independence in 1968. This marked a pivotal, yet ultimately tragic, turning point. Francisco Macias Nguema emerged as the nation's first president. His ascent quickly devolved into the establishment of a brutal and absolute dictatorship. Macias's regime systematically eliminated political rivals through execution and imprisonment. It banned education, closed churches, and suppressed all forms of dissent. Between 1968 and 1979, the scale of the atrocities was staggering. Over one-third of Equatorial Guinea's population either fled the country or perished under the regime's iron fist. The promise of independence proved hollow. The oppression continued unabated, with control simply transferred from a distant colonial power to a new, equally ruthless, domestic master. In 1979, Teodoro Obiang Nguema Umbosogo orchestrated a coup, overthrowing his uncle, Francisco Macias Nguema. This act promised liberation but delivered only a change of oppressors. Obiang has since ruled Equatorial Guinea for over 45 years, making him Africa's longest-serving president. His tenure is marked by an unwavering grip on power. The discovery of vast offshore oil reserves in the 1990s fundamentally reshaped the nation's destiny. This newfound wealth led to massive national profits, transforming the country's economic landscape. Despite a dramatic rise in reported GDP per capita, the vast majority of Equatorial Guinea's population continues to live in abject poverty. The oil boom has bypassed ordinary citizens. The nation's immense wealth is heavily concentrated within the ruling family and their close associates. This elite controls virtually all economic activity and state resources. International powers, including the United States, Spain, France, and China, actively compete for lucrative oil deals and influence within the country. Their geopolitical interests often overshadow human rights concerns. The Obiang family faces widespread accusations of corruption, money laundering, and extravagant spending. Their lavish lifestyles stand in stark contrast to the poverty of their people. Oil made Obiang incredibly rich and solidified his dictatorial rule. Simultaneously, it effectively silenced his people, as the regime used its wealth to suppress dissent and maintain control. Even decades after formal independence, Spain maintained significant cultural, linguistic, and economic influence in Equatorial Guinea. This enduring connection reflects a complex post-colonial relationship. Spanish companies are deeply embedded in key sectors of the Equatorial Guinean economy. They hold substantial interests in construction, telecommunications, and banking, reinforcing economic ties. The Obiang regime skillfully utilizes Spanish-language media to control the national narrative. This strategic use of language helps shape public perception and suppress alternative viewpoints. The regime is consistently accused of severe human rights violations. These include the torture of political opposition figures, arbitrary detentions, and the systematic rigging of elections. Spain and the European Union have faced criticism for their muted responses to these abuses. Their diplomatic silence is often attributed to underlying oil interests and economic considerations. The international community's engagement with Equatorial Guinea frequently prioritizes resource extraction over democratic principles. This transactional approach perpetuates the cycle of oppression. The nation's future remains precarious, caught between its vast oil wealth and the entrenched authoritarianism that controls it. The struggle for genuine freedom continues. Equatorial Guinea stands as a stark reminder that independence is merely a first step. True liberation requires dismantling the structures of oppression, both historical and contemporary. Equatorial Guinea was Spain's smallest colony, but perhaps its darkest. Oil brought riches, but not liberation. The ghosts of empire still haunt its palaces and pipelines. Please subscribe for episode 10, Netherlands in South Africa, Gold, Land and Apartheid. Like, share, and comment to reveal Africa's silenced history.